This evening we're here to talk about how to get the right bull for your farm. Now there's a whole heap of things that we need to look at. There's a whole host of information out there on what we should be doing and how we can be doing it. And so I'm joined this evening by Emma Steele from AHDB and Parri, Multiplier from North Wales. First up, Emma, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thanks, Seth. So I work in the knowledge exchange team for beef and lamb at the moment, and I cover the Midlands region. So essentially, I'm the point of contact for any beef or lamb levy payer in the East or West Midlands. But my background before working in the KE team was with Signet. So I've been within figures and EBVs probably for 2 or 3 years.
Fantastic, that's great. Thank you, Emma. Great to have you on board this evening. And also this evening we've got Harri. Harri, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Seth. I'm Parri. I'm a Stabiliser multiplier, the cricket and herd. Farm here in North West Wales. We've got 2 plots of land, a lowland and a upland farm, split by a 45-minute car journey. So enough to do travelling back and forth there. Farm with my parents and wife. My father was the original multiplier and he's been in the Stabiliser since the beginning pretty much. So we got our first Stabiliser calves born in 2001. And I took over the management of the herd when I came home to farm in 2007. We've roughly around 200, 210 cows calving each year. There's 800 ewes here and we do bits of arable and free range hens here as well. So the herd is split into 2 blocks, a spring block, so middle of March until end of April, 120 calving then, and then another block in July, 90 calving in July. It's a byproduct of unfertile dairy crosses cows that we used to run 20 plus years ago, that we had the split herd. We tried to keep a tight ship with them, but percentages of empty cows were higher than we'd liked it to be, so we can maintain replacement costs like that. So we split into 2 herds so we can push cows on, which wasn't efficient and sustainable. So that's where the Stabiliser came in pretty much for us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Harri. And yeah, very pleased to have you on this evening. And especially with everything that's going on in your farm, we're pleased that you can spend the time to join us. So look, this is a massive topic. You know, when we talk about buying a bull, there's a whole heap of things. But Emma, where's a good point to start from, and what is a really, where should farmers go to find that information?
So if it was me and I was going out to buy a bull, the first place I'd be going is to start with the end in mind and ask a lot of questions of myself and my business first. So I'd be thinking about what I was trying to achieve first. So am I breeding female replacements? Am I just breeding slaughter animals? Am I going to need a bull that can do both? And actually, I'm going to be keeping my own replacements, but I am going to be finishing a lot of stock. Am I selling stores and I just need them to grow quick? And what animal is that system going to have to thrive in? So asking those questions of myself first before I even go and start looking at any bulls. And I think it's really important as well to evaluate your herd and recognise what you are good and bad at and what your strengths and weaknesses are, and almost do a bit of a SWOT analysis. We've got lots of key performance indicators that can help you to do that, and AHDB has KPI tools that can help you to do that too, and benchmark whatever your technical performance is against the rest of the industry. But yeah, identifying your strengths and weaknesses and what those are, and also again going down the SWOT route, any opportunities or threats that could come into your business. So opportunities wise, in 5-10 years, are we going to get paid differently to how we get paid now for carcasses? Don't know. Threats wise, a reduction in BPS has got to be there, and the fact that we're going to have to be more efficient. So all of that before you even go and look at any bulls or any figures. I then think once you've got that settled, you need to work backwards and work out how you're going to meet those objectives that you've set, and work out which EBVs are really relevant and useful to you. So sometimes, depending on the breed, you can have a list of maybe 20 EBVs, and looking at all of them at anybody is just really, really complicated. So pull out the few that are of real importance to you and try and keep it simple. Once you have that plan, I know we don't like spending lots of time in office, but it's really useful to write it down. I think there's a stat, I don't know exactly what it is, but if you write something down, it's something like 60 or 70% more likely to happen than if you just think about it. So get that plan, write the plan down and stick to the plan. Don't be swayed by going to a market and looking at something that looks really fancy, really pretty. It's clearly had a lot of work gone into it, but if it doesn't meet your objectives, ultimately you're going to be disappointed and it's not going to do the job that you want. And then once you've done that with all your figures, everything else that comes into it, so health status, is it fit for purpose just generally and for the system you're going to have it in as well? Is it structurally sound? And a big pet thing for me is, do you trust the breeder and do you have a relationship with the breeder? Personally, I don't think enough breeders and buyers have that relationship with each other, and I think it's really valuable to do. So that was probably a really long-winded answer to your question, Seth.
No, and I think it's been brilliant, Emma. But there's a whole heap of things that you've started to mention there. Now, before we start delving into EBVs and indexes and all of the sort of numbers around it, Harri, what sort of decisions do you make on your farm when you're selecting stock bulls for you?
Basically, what I need the herd to achieve and what's the strengths and weaknesses of the herd. So for us, as we sell breeding bulls and breeding females, we tend to go down the maternal route, using the pound weaning index more, emphasize more on that, as a bigger proportion of our cattle go to breed than they do slaughter. So having a good weaning is crucial for our herd. Obviously, things change and stuff. I could decide one year that we need to push down the other road. So having a balance, having been able to adapt to what requirements needs of the herds and what we want to achieve. Have that goal every year, and then go from there, really.
Fantastic. So every year you would sit down and you'd say, right, what do we need to achieve with the herd? These are perhaps our strengths. This is where we're good at the moment, and we might have a few gaps here, and we might need to start filling those gaps. Would that be a good starting point?
Yeah. And personally, we go into quite a lot of detail because you've got certain cows that are better on weaning and certain cows are better on finishing. So you pick a bull that will balance that breeding out. So if she's good at finishing, you pick a bull out that's good on weaning to cross with that line of cows there. So we end up hopefully with something that's good at finishing and good at weaning.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Emma, I've got a question for you. Do you think there's any breeds out there can do it all? Can you be good at weaning and good at finishing?
I think there are individuals in each breed that will be able to do it all. So yeah, there will be animals out there that will produce a good female replacement, and they'll produce a profitable slaughter animal as well. But you also will have the extremes, and there's always that saying, there's more variation within a breed than between breeds. So it's not always most important to go out and swap your breed and change everything. Just look for the right animals that suit you.
And so, I think this leads us on to a really important point, is how do we identify those animals and what levels of performance they could give us?
Through EBVs and indexes would be the obvious one. I guess you get access.
Yeah, that's it. So do you want to explain what an EBV is?
Yeah, so an EBV, estimated breeding value, is essentially the best estimate of an animal's breeding value that we have. And what we do is we take a measurement, so whether that be a weight or an ultrasound scan or whatever it is, and we take that measurement and we say how much of that measurement, that growth trait, is because of the environment that it's been reared in, and how much is because of that animal's genetics. And what the EBV is, it's that genetic package, and it's that best estimation.
Fantastic. That's a really good example about it. Now, we've got a couple of slides, Harry. Do you think this would be a good time to talk about, just before we bring those slides up, do you just want to talk about perhaps which EBVs are important to you when you're looking at animal selection?
Yeah.
Yeah, so can you you can see that, Harry, can you?
Yeah. We our stock bulls are basically born on the farm. They're all embryos from the States. So yeah, this is an embryo bull. He's leaning towards the maternal side, even though he's still a 3-star finishing index bull. But he's really good for producing cows. So that's what basically our herd aim is, as we're selling more breeding stock than we are finishing stock.
Fantastic. Good. And there we go. There's the other one.
Yeah, this is another embryo bull. So he's leaning towards a finishing index. All bulls for us has to have low birth weight, below +2 or 2.5. I'm happy with that. And then as a maternal herd, I personally look at mature cow weight, try and get them moderate to small. Eye muscle area and the fats, want them fat and big eye muscle area. And obviously the feed to gain ratio and dry matter feed intake, we have a look at that as well. Now, when I was saying before, when we used bulls to put on to help with other issues, like this bull's daughters will be on the finishing, better at finishing. So the first bull, we put him on this bull's daughter. So we balance our genetics like that.
Yep.
And try and end up with a real good bull or cattle that will do both really for us.
Fantastic. Now, just conscious that obviously, Harry, you live and die by these numbers. This, you've been looking at these numbers for 20 years and making breeding decisions around them. I just think maybe if we just spend a couple of minutes just to focus on what these numbers mean and how they interact. So for every breed, and irrespective of whether it's a stabiliser or anything else, there's going to be a range of EBVs based with them. And each one of these is an individual EBV. And it gives you an indication of how well that animal performs against the average. So down the bottom, we've got the actual numbers that are recorded for the EBV. And then up here is a really good graphical representation of how that looks. So down the middle line here on the 50 number, on the 50th percentile, we've got the herd average. So if the animal is better at the trait, it's over on the right-hand side. And if the animal is poor at the trait, it's over on the left-hand side. Now, it's very rare to get an animal with everything all on the right-hand side or everything all on the left-hand side. This is a very good example of what the figures behind an animal looks like. Now, these are all individual traits, and I'll just quickly talk through some of these. So this top one is a birth weight, and that will obviously impact how big that calf is when it's born. We've then got weaning weight, yearling weight, milk, and mature cow weight. They're all to do with the growth and the performance of those animals at different stages. We've then got scrotal size, which is a performance measure of fertility, and that's in the red. Then we've got this light blue, and the 3 light blue colours are the carcass conformations. This is very unique to us, and this is feed efficiency. So there's 2 feed efficiency measures that we look at here. And we probably will do another tea time talk solely on feed efficiency. So we're not going to go into too much depth now. And then we've got the 3 indexes, and we'll come on to the indexes just shortly. But to follow on from your comments, Emma, the point really would be to highlight where your herd is weak and where your herd needs improvement, and then try and target animals that are good. So these will be the animals over here on the right hand side. Now, how can we believe these numbers, Emma? What are these numbers telling us?
They're telling us essentially all the data that's gone into a figure. So they're not just looked at as I think EBVs can sometimes be quite controversial, and I think I use the word witchcraft. I often use it a lot, whether it's right or not. But we use a statistical model in the background called BLUP, and that is Best Linear Unbiased Predictor. And it takes all that, those weights and all that information Harri and the likes of are collecting on farm, and it uses that model to reward on a non-biased basis. So, and BLUP does exactly what it says on the tin. It's the best statistical model we have available to us. It works on a linear reward system, so the better you are for something, the more points you get, the more you go across to that good side of the chart. It's unbiased, so it doesn't care what the herd prefix is, how many shows it's won that season, or how much you paid for it. And it is also a prediction, and it'll change throughout the animal's life. But BLUP is a model that is used across many industries, not just beef. It's used across everything from plant breeding to dog breeding. It's just a well-respected way, the best way to measure genetic merit.
Fantastic. So, you know, and I think the challenge is when people are looking at EBVs and figures for the first time, it can be quite daunting, because you think, well, I want to focus on that and I want to focus on that, but I don't really want to focus too much on that. And how much importance do I need to put on that one? Now, the important thing that I would like to say about us as stabilisers is we now using genomically enhanced EBVs. So what that allows us to do is to take a DNA sample of an animal at birth, we send it off, and it looks at all the other animals in the database, and it will adjust the figures to what the actual genetics of the animal are showing us. So it allows us to have more accuracy at a younger age, which is great. And so when you're selecting bulls, it gives you the safe in the knowledge that you're making the right decisions at that earlier age. And especially if you're buying young bulls where they've had no offspring, or they've not had any progeny recorded, that can have a big impact onto the accuracies of those data. Now, Harri, you touched on the weaning index and the finishing index and the pound profit. Those are indexes, and the role of an index really is to make sure that it's weighting all of those individual EBVs to give you a better tool to make a decision. So rather than having to focus on the 13 individual EBVs and weighting them, it does it all for you. Now, when we're talking about the EBVs that we're seeing at the Stabiliser, we've got three. So we have the weaning index, and that focuses on if you're producing animals to stay in your herd, that is the best driver for that one for you to look at. The finishing index, if you're having buying animals in to sell, or you're breeding animals to sell, that finishing index is the one that is the best one to be looking at. And then we put it all together in the pound profit, and the pound profit is that total package that will indicate the profit of an individual bull that goes onto your farm. Now, Harri, when you're looking at these numbers, how much are you know, where do you start? Do you start at the index and then go into the EBVs, or how does it work for you?
Yeah, I started the index because in those two bulls you brought up, there was a few weaknesses there. There's a few bars on the left side, but overall they were still very profitable, good animals. So look at the indexes first and decide, yeah, that bull's suitable to go on whatever cows. And then just pinpoints, look at birth weights. That's a must as well, just in case he's not suitable for heifers or something. And then, yeah, there's no point putting a high mature cow weight bull on high mature cow weight cows that if the end goal is to have a high weaning index with low mature cow weight. So just little stuff like that, pull 1 or 2, 3 EBVs out to make sure that they match each other well and benefit the cows there, really.
Fantastic. So, you know, I think that's a really good point, that you look at the indexes, find out what you will need, and then look at those individual EBVs that will then complement what you need in your herd. Now, just conscious that we've got 5 minutes left. The time flies. So anybody's got any questions, stick them in the Q&A. Now, we've talked about EBVs, but obviously the animal needs to look right as well. So Emma, how do you suggest farmers go about, you know, once they've discovered what they need, how do they then find the right animal for them?
So I'd be going out and a lot of it is the general stockmanship. So is it lame? Is it structurally sound? The bull MOTs, that kind of thing, just making sure it is a sound bull. But I think as well, looking at the herd that it's coming from. So if you can, get on farm and have a look at the environment they're being reared in. Generally, if you're going to be rearing the progeny in a similar environment to what they've been bred in, then figures are going to do what they say on the tin. So just, it sounds really daft, but all those things that you know as a stockman really do come into play, and just using your judgment. But again, vets as well, if you are concerned about anything, you can always speak to your vet and get them to do a bull MOT. But teeth, not teeth, that's sheep, testicles, feet, I've got into sheep mode, testicles, feet, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Harri, so when people come on the farm, and you know they've probably been on the website, because all of this information for virtually every breed is on their website. Ours is on at stabiliser.co.uk. I'm assuming people come on the farm, they've got a sheet of figures that of the animals they want to look at. What do they then do when they're on the farm with you, Harri?
Well, I generally have a walk around the herd first, show them everything that's around, and then take them towards the bulls at the end, so that they get a feel of how we manage the cows, because they're commercially reared cows. If they don't get in calf, or if we have to touch them at calving or whatever, then they're down the road. So get them to understand that, how we run the herd, so they're quite comfortable knowing that these bulls that we produce will be fit for purpose. And then, yeah, take them to see the bulls, and generally have a chat. What do they want to achieve? What's the cows they've got at home? And then, especially if they're new people to the breed, because they're not sure what the figures, the indexes means. They're not sure what type of bull they should go for. So I have a chat with them really about that, what type of cows they've got home, and what I personally think that would benefit their herd. And then obviously have a selection of bulls for them to pick out.
And so what checks and tests do you do to make sure that your bulls, when they leave your farm, are going to go and work on for the person who's buying them?
All bulls are fertility tested. So the vet does that. They need to pass that. So the majority do, but you're surprised with the odd one that's got too small testicles or whatever. So, but all pretty good and sound when they go. Feet, obviously, a big issue. We try not to push the bulls too hard, but still, as they're yearling bulls, and I want them to work as in the second summer. We want them to do 1.4, 1.5 a winter live again, with the potential for the bull beef pen. They're doing 1.8, 2 kilos a day. So they're held back a little bit, just to make sure that we don't overdo them, that their feet don't go out of place, and they're fit and healthy to work there. So yeah, structurally sound bulls, good feet, good legs, everything in its right place. And then, yeah, go from there. We sell.
Sorry, carry on, Harri.
Yeah, we sell anywhere between 50 and 20 bulls a year, and that's come down from 100 bulls there on average there. So you're not just keeping the best for yourself, Harri, and then getting rid of everything else to everyone else. No. We sell the best and keep the very best, as they say, isn't it?
But you'd be happy taking on any bull, that leaves your herd.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to sell anything that I wouldn't want to use on my cows there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another important thing of what we do is to make sure that those animals are ready to work, that they can leave your farm, Harri, on a one day, they can go out into the field the next day and go and work on somebody else's farm.
Yeah.
And I feel that's a real important factor, that when you go and choose your bull, you want to go and choose your bull with the knowledge of what he's going to deliver, but also go and see him when he's ready to work, rather than having him, pumped up, full of full of feed that actually is not ready to work. So that's a big factor in everything that we do. Now we're just coming on towards the end. The 30 minutes has gone really quickly. This evening, I think we must have been really concise because we've not had any questions in. So with that in mind, I'd like to thank you all. But before we go, I would just like to come and ask you what your key points are when selecting bulls. So first, Emma.
So mine would be write a plan and stick to it. Obviously review it, and as Harri said, adapt it where necessary, but stick to it. Make sure you understand what you're looking at, build that relationship with the breeder, and don't forget you're fit for purpose. But, and Seth's going to love me now, I have a plug. We have a Choosing Bulls for Better Returns manual at AHDB that goes through step by step exactly how to do everything we've discussed tonight, including the fit for purpose messages, facility testing, etc. So if anybody wants a copy of that, please speak to me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you, Emma. And look, you know, if anybody does need everything we discussed this evening is in that book, and it doesn't matter whether you're buying a stabiliser or any other animal. That is going to be a key thing. So, Harri, key points to take home.
Most important point for me is generally is stabiliser bull to start off with. That always is a good place to start. And then, yeah, what that bull's role is going to be. If you're going to keep replacements, if you're going to be slaughtering most of his progeny, and have same generally as Emma said, really have a plan. What your aims are in the long run, and yeah, find a good breeder, somebody you trust. Go have a look at the herd, see what they're doing, and then yeah, go from there.
Wonderful. Well, look, I mean, that's half an hour. It's been an amazing session this evening. I'd like to thank Emma and Harri for joining me this evening. I'd like to thank Ursula and Stephen, Katie and Andrew for also joining us. I'd like to thank everybody at home that has watched. Now, if anybody needs any more information, aside from the AHDB book, head over to stabiliser.co.uk. On there, we've got all of the animals that we have for sale, so the individual bulls are all there. Anybody wants to look at EBVs from any animal in the stabiliser herd, that's on our website as well. You can go into the database and search by animal. If you want to know any more, pick up the phone to us or drop us an email. The details are on the message that was sent. But thank you all very much this evening, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thank you.